All right, so this whole section is about slope-intercept form. So let's just go ahead and actually say what the slope-intercept form is. So if a line has slope m and the y-intercept is b, okay, so those letters have meaning. So anytime you see an m, that means a slope. And anytime you see a b, that is representing the y-intercept. And remember, whenever you see a y-intercept, that is representing an actual point, right? That's where the line crosses the y-axis. So then the line is described by the equation y equals mx plus b, where, notice this, the equation is solved for y, right? You got the mx, so that means it's the slope multiplied by x. That means that whatever number is in front of x is the slope. And then whatever is out here on the outside, that is the y-intercept. That number, this b represents a number, that is where your line crosses the y-axis. So this is slope-intercept form, because when it's solved for y, it directly tells you what the slope and the y-intercept is. So any linear equation can be written in slope-intercept form by solving for y and simplifying. So any linear equation can be written in slope-intercept form by solving for y. So one of the forms that we talked about previously was standard form, right? Do you remember that? So an equation that was in standard form would be something like where the x and the y are on the same side of the equation. So maybe something like 3x plus 2y equals, what would it be? Equals 6, let's say. So this is standard form. So what this is saying, if we want to change this into slope-intercept form, what we need to do is get y by itself. So that we would isolate y. So we would have to move this. So we'd subtract 3x to both sides, right? And then that would leave us with 2y, I'm writing small. And since it's slope-intercept form, you see how that x is written first? So we would write this first. We'd write negative 3x, and then that's a positive 6 plus 6. And then we need to get y by itself, but it's not by itself. So we would divide each individual thing by 2, which would then, 2 divided by 2 is 1, 1 times y is y. We'd be left with y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 6 divided by 2, which is 3. So this would be slope-intercept form, right? This is y equals mx plus b. We have solved this equation for y. The number in front of x, right, which is being multiplied, which is negative 3 over 2, that represents our slope. So m equals negative 3 over 2. And then our y-intercept is just this number out here, which means our b equals 3. And always know that the y-intercept can be written as a point, 0, 3, because for every y-intercept, we always know that x equals 0. So yeah, so really any equation, you can put it into this slope-intercept form just by using your wonderful algebra skills that you already have and solving it and equaling it to y, and then, then you'll have the slope and the intercept there. So in this form, you can immediately see the slope and the y-intercept. Also, you can quickly graph a line when the equation is written in slope-intercept form like we previously did in the last example, right? We graph the y-intercept first at this point, and then from that, we graph the slope. Perfect. So let's go ahead and get started looking at some different problems. So for 2a, we're going to be writing linear equations in slope-intercept form. Okay, so it says write the equation that describes the line in slope-intercept form. Okay, so let's write down what slope-intercept form is. So y equals mx plus b. So it's saying the slope is 1/4, and the b, or the y-intercept, is 4. And then we just substitute those values in. So y equals m is 1/4 x n plus 4. Slope-intercept form, there's our equation. Boom shakalaka. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next example. So here, we're just going to write it in slope-intercept form. We have this slope and this y-intercept. Okay, so I'm going to write y equals mx plus b. I always want you to write slope-intercept form with the symbols first. Then we're going to define our variables. So our slope is equal to negative 9. Our b is equal to negative 5/4. And then we just substitute the values in. y equals negative 9 goes in for m, negative 9x, and then our b is negative 5/4. And there's slope-intercept form. Awesome. All right, let's look at the next example. So here, we're going to write the equation right here. Okay, so write the equation that describes the line in slope-intercept form. Okay, so for this one's going to be a little bit different because we just have these 2 points, right? So for slope-intercept form, you need 2 things. You have to know 2 things. You need to know y equals mx plus b. So you need to know the slope and you need to know the y-intercept, right? Do we know the slope? Do we know the y-intercept? We do not know either of those. So we have to figure them out. So all we're given is 2 points. So we can figure out the slope, right? So we're going to go ahead and start with the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Okay, so I'm going to call this my x1, this is my y1, this is my x2, this is my y2, and I'm just going to plug those values in, and I get y2 is 2 minus y1 is 1 all over x2 is negative 2 minus x1 would be negative 4. Then we simplify, 2 minus 1 is 1, and then this would be addition, right? Negative 2 plus 4 would be 2. So we end up with our slope equaling 1/2. Okay, great. Now we have our slope, right? But we don't have our y-intercept. We need 2 things. We need our slope and our y-intercept. But we can use our algebra skills to figure out the y-intercept. And let me show you how we do that. So I'm going to go ahead and write down slope-intercept form. Okay, my slope is going to equal 1/2. And then I'm going to pick a point. It doesn't matter which point. We could pick either one. I think I'm going to choose this one. Negative 2, 2. And I'm going to call this my x, and this is going to be my y. All right? So then what I'm going to do you see here in this equation, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 variables, or 4 letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Well, here, I know one of them. I know the slope. I know an x value. That's 2, and I know a y value, that's 3. So whenever you have 1, 2, 3, 4 variables, and okay, so if there's 4 variables, if I know 3 out of the 4 variables, then I can use my algebra skills to find that 4th variable, okay? So I know 3, so I'm going to substitute in these 3 variables, and then that last b value, I'm going to use my algebra skills to figure out what that value is. So let's go ahead and do it. So y is 2 equals my m is 1/2, my x is negative 2, it's a negative number, so I'm going to put in parentheses, plus b. Do you see I put all of these values in? Now there's nothing but numbers except for b, and I can use my algebra skills to figure out what b is. So here I'm going to be multiplying fractions, so I'm going to make negative 2 over 1. I'm going to look to cross cancel. Is there a common factor? Yes, 2. 2 goes into 2 one time, 2 goes into 2 one time. I'm rewriting here, and then I'm going to multiply across, and that's just going to leave me with negative 1 plus b. And now we just need to get b by itself, right? So I'm going to add 1 to both sides, which ends up being 3. So b is equal to 3. And so now I'm ready to write my equation, okay? So y equals mx plus b, my slope is equal to 1/2, and my y-intercept is 3. And so I just go ahead and substitute those in to the equation. Yeah. And I get the slope goes in here for m, 1/2 x plus 3. And you can see here, there's my y-intercept, 1, 2, 3, and my slope, I could go up 1 over 2, 1, 2, and there you have it. So this is my equation right here. All right, now let's go ahead and look at the next example. So here we don't have a graph. They want us to write the equation that describes a line in slope-intercept form, right? Y equals mx plus b. Yeah, And all they're giving us is the slope and a point. Okay, so let's think about this. The slope is our m, right? And this is an x and a y. So if I have the m, the x, and the y, I actually have 3 out of the 4 variables I need. Remember, 1, 2, 3, 4. So then I can use my algebra skills and figure out what b is. And then I can write the line in slope-intercept form. Because remember, slope-intercept, you need 2 things. You need a slope and you need an intercept for slope-intercept form. And so we have a slope, which is great, but we don't have the y-intercept. So we're going to have to use our algebra skills and figure out what that is. So I'm going to go ahead and write that slope-intercept form here, y equals mx plus b. I'm going to say my slope is equal to 2, and then I'm using the point 3, 4, and this is going to be my x, and that's my y. Substitute the values in. I get 4 equals, the slope is 2, x is 3, plus b, okay? Now we just use algebra. 4 equals 6 plus b. Subtract 6 to both sides. We end up with negative 2 equals b, or b equals negative 2. All right, great. Now I know my slope and my y-intercept. So I can just go ahead and write that equation. Y equals mx plus b. My slope is equal to 2. My y-intercept is equal to negative 2. And then I just substitute the values in. I get y equals 2x minus 2. And there we have it. All right. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and look at some different examples. And I want you to go ahead and try these ones out on your own. So you're going to write the equation that describes each line in slope-intercept form. So I want you to go ahead and try 2a and 2b on your own. Okay, so where's my friend? Oh, here's the pause dragon coming in. Remind us to pause your device. Go ahead and work those problems out. When you get done, press play and we'll talk about them together. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, we're back. Let's see how you did. So what do we have? We have a slope and a y-intercept, and we have to write in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Make sure that you have this written down first. We're going to define our variables. Our slope is equal to negative 12, and our y-intercept is equal to negative 1/2. We substitute the values in. We get y equals negative 12x minus 1/2. And there we have it. If this is your answer, you did it correctly. Great job. Let's go ahead and look at the next one, example 2b. So we're going to write the equation in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to write y equals mx plus b. I'm going to define my variables. My slope is equal to 1. My y-intercept is equal to 0. And then I just substitute the values in. Y equals 1x plus 0. Now I'm going to simplify this. No one ever writes 1x. You just write x. So we're going to say y equals x. And then we're not going to put plus 0. There's going to be nothing there. And that, when there's nothing here, we know that our y-intercept is 0. So really, this is how we're going to write our final answer. So make sure, if you have your answer is this, make sure you go ahead and simplify it. So this is the answer. You see that the slope is 1. Okay, there's no number, so we know that there's a 1 there, 1 over 1. And then there's no number on the outside here, so we know that there's 0 there, and our y-intercept is 0. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and look at the next example here. And for this one, I want you to try this one on your own as well. So here's my friend the pause dragon. Go ahead and pause your device. Go ahead and work that problem out. When you get done, press play and we'll talk about it together. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, let's see how you did. A line has a slope of 8, and this point is on the line. Write an equation that describes this line in slope-intercept form. So remember, for slope-intercept form, you need 2 things. You need a slope and you need a y-intercept. Do we have 2 things? Well, we have a slope, but we don't have a y-intercept. So y equals mx plus b. We know that the slope is equal to 8, and we have a point. So we know that this point is x and y. So we really, remember there's 1, 2, 3, 4 variables. We have 3 out of the 4, so we can go ahead and substitute these 3 values in and then figure out what b is. So y is 1 equals x is negative, well, the slope is, oh shoot, the slope is 8. I'm going to make this an 8. Look at that magic. Okay, so wait. Y is 1, the slope is 8, x is negative 3, so multiply that by negative 3 plus b. 8 times -3 is -24 plus b. Then we want to get b by itself, so we're going to add 24 to both sides. We end up with 25 equals b. Use that symmetric property of equality to write the variable on the left side. We have b equals 25. Perfect. We have a slope. We have a y-intercept. Now we can go ahead and write that formula in slope-intercept form. New color. Y equals mx plus b. The slope is equal to 8, and the y-intercept is equal to 25. We substitute those values in, and we get y equals 8x plus 25. And there we have our equation. So if you got that one right, amazing, great job, and I'll see you in a little bit for example 3.